learners, where we do the lunch and learns. And today we're talking about doing virtual events. So I'm here with all of you guys, and I'm going to basically, because this covers a lot of ground and a lot of technical areas, and I'm sure everybody has a ton of questions, and that's my favorite part, is working with you guys and helping along with that process anyways. So what I would like to do is kind of just go over the basics of what it is that I had planned to talk about today. That way, it may spark some things that you want to make some notes on and ask me, just in case we run out of time and I can't get to the bottom of the list. Okay. So I know everybody, because of the changes in our sales environments and the way we do our workflows nowadays, we are all looking to try and get out there virtually, because we are obviously limited with in-person, face-to-face nowadays. And you know, to be quite honest, this is something that a lot of businesses should have been working on quite a bit before we got up to this, but this has made it pretty much a requirement that now you have to start figuring this out. It doesn't have to be super complicated, but you do have to have some sort of a process put into your workflow. So basically, when you're putting together virtual events, you are mostly going to be concerned first and foremost about your content. So what's the entire purpose for doing this? You have to look into this reduction, what you're capable of, the type of equipment that you'll need, how it is you're actually going to produce the material, where you're distributing it, how you're distributing it, and what your plan is overall to just get the messaging out there. So the most important first thing to talk about is the content. What is it about? Who's it for? And where do these people pay the most attention? It's something that you're in complete control of now, because you used to have to take that mentality from your marketing and build your messaging in order to drag them to your event. But now, with today's technology and the way the bandwidths have been expanded and the pricing has come down, and it has basically opened the doors for people to jump into this market with both feet and now go out to the people. But the basic methodology still applies, in that you have to know, why are you saying what you're saying? Who is actually the person that is going to pay attention to this? And where are they actually paying the most attention? Where should you actually present it to them? So that falls into, obviously, when you're picking that out, that falls into demographics and psychographics and the overall things that you always consider about your people from the get-go. But it doesn't change when you're putting together a live event, because to build it that doesn't match the workflow and the distribution models that you had for your standard marketing, you're going to run into the same kind of problems as if you just mismarketed your entire event to begin with. So that being said, we're looking to build with a purpose and have expectations for all of your creations. The next step that you'll have to pay attention to is your actual production. What are you capable of? How much do you have personally? Knowledge, technical abilities, technical things that you have in place. What can you drag into your disposal quickly in order to use? What are the steps for you to build to where you want to be as far as what kind of production you can put on? And how are you going to capture that? How are you going to manage the actual content that you have captured? And then distribution, what are you going to do with it after the fact? What are you going to do with that material, and how are you going to do that? So let's stop back just a little bit and talk about the actual equipment, because a lot of people start to bog down pretty quickly with, I don't know how to do this, everything is too technical, or they go the other way, which is, oh cool, this will be fun, I get to buy all this fun, neat stuff, and it'll be a blast. But then they lock up on, well, what do I need? And you want to make sure that if you've done marketing for yourself and you've created content and put it out there before, the same basic rules applies if you're capturing a photo. You've got to worry about your light, you've got to worry about your sound, you've got to worry about your overall image quality as it is. So you can set up and do a basic, the basic obvious of this is you set up a Zoom link, right? Okay, and we'll talk about that really briefly. You can set up a Zoom link to invite people to join in on what Zoom calls a class, or a classroom, for example. And there's other platforms. You can use Skype, you can use other things. But Zoom is kind of, at least for my side of the world, Zoom is kind of running away with the market a little bit. They seem to be doing a pretty good job. They're becoming kind of the Kleenex of this actual property. So you can do a classroom where you can invite multiple people in at the same time. You can distribute links. You can set that up with your own marketing to say, hey, here's what we're going to get together, and here's what we're going to talk about, and here's what we're going to do. And it's real easy to do that just with a phone. I mean, you can set up, I run Zoom meetings all the time just with my iPad. You know, I meet with salespeople, I do sales process engineering for clients. We do it all right on Zoom, where we'll have several people and we all can just work and confer. It's great. I love it because I think it's a great opportunity for people to become more human. You know, it used to be, what was I doing the other day? I was having a financial conversation, nothing major, just like opening a checking account or something like that, and they stepped me over to tier 2 or tier 3 support, and I'm having a conversation with a lady whose dog's barking in the background, and her kid answered a question. Or a kid asked her a question. I thought it was awesome, you know, and I just laughed because she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? This is the way I've been functioning for years. I'm so happy that now everybody else has to do it, and everybody is in the same boat. I think it's great." So, but at any rate, the point is that you can bring everybody together in Zoom meetings that maybe before were teleconferences or something to that extent. So that's as simple as that. That's the simple end of it. You can do that with your phone. You can do that with an iPad. You can do that with your laptop. Obviously, when you choose to go with methods like that, if it's the type of a production that makes sense, then it does a wonderful job of limiting you for all the decisions that you have to make. Okay, I'm going to do a Zoom, so I'm probably not going to be running a broadcast camera. Lighting is probably a questionable issue because the type of camera that you're using, maybe on the face of your laptop, you're going to be 4 to 6 feet away from it. That's it. Okay, but you still have backgrounds. You know, you still want to have that overall feel that makes sense for what you're doing. So the marketing doesn't change, guys. You still need to put in the type of thought process that makes sense. You don't want to have. You can do whatever you want with a background that's comfortable for your actual final direction, but if you're looking for a particular feel, maybe you should have the books in the background. I know we've all seen the newscasters on TV, and some of them have this background or that background. Some of them choose to put up a cruise ship, you know, just to kind of calm people down depending on what they're talking about. You can do anything that you want. It's a great area of creativity, but the same rules apply to marketing as when you're creating your content. You want to do something that makes sense. You want to put some effort into that stuff. Take control of the things that you can. You will be limited with things like Zoom and your laptop, but that's okay. You can still pay attention to the background. And a lot of phones, tablets, and laptops will allow you to add sound. So always remember you have lighting, you have sound, and you have the actual capture equipment, the image to capture equipment themselves. So always try to adjust the things that you can, okay? So if you can plug an external microphone into your laptop and do that and get better sound, I would, because that's one of the things that's the biggest complaint when people are watching something you're doing is, I can't hear it. I don't understand, it wasn't clear. And you want that message to come across nice and solid to them. So put the effort into that. Lighting, obviously you don't want something that's too dim or hard for people to see, but typically the sensors on phones and tablets, they can dang near see in the dark, so you're usually okay with that. But then what you want to ask yourself is, and let's skip just a little bit ahead to distribution, when you're choosing whether or not you're going to do Zoom or Skype, or if it's just as simple as it needs to be a FaceTime, or this is something that you're creating on a large scale where you're going to cast it across a website, across YouTube, or things like that, do you need to be live with actually what's going on at the time? Can you pre-record and then essentially what's considered a restream or a post-stream? Do you need to pre-record some content to be mixed into this particular stream? If you're doing a webinar or something to that extent of a conference that's a simple presentation on Zoom, you've got 20 people coming, what type of material do you need to have in order to get your content across? What do you need to have pre-built? So there's pre-built in this as well. Maybe it's as simple as slides. You're just going to screen share some things that you want to talk about. You want to go over basic content. Or are you going to have pre-recorded video? Maybe you captured something interesting that you thought was important on the side and you want to bring that and switch that in as well. But all of these things come back to the same basic concept, which is what is the message going? What are you trying to say? What do you have to bring together on this? Do you need slide material? Do you need visual assistance? Do you have to bring things in from the outside to bring it into your to your webcast? What is your overall plan for what it is you're going to capture? You have to put together, basically, no matter how simple you're going to do this, whether it's something that fits on a 3x5 card or it's something that looks like this, where you have to have a plan. In order to pull this off well, you have to have a plan. You have to sit down and say, what is it I'm trying to say? How is it I'm going to say this? And then start breaking that down into the pieces that you need, so that you know all of the different types of materials that you're going to have to maintain through the process. Because to do it one time, that's fine. Maybe you make a couple of mistakes, maybe you modify it a little bit to do it 2 times. But in order for this to really work long term and be something that actually makes a difference, you have to have that continuity, you have to keep up consistency. And the best way to do that is to go to your basic marketing strategies and plan out your virtual events the same way and break them down into the things that you need. And then take a look at those things. Take a look at your wish list of things that you need for your event. I need visual aids. What do they look like? Are they stills? Are they outlines? Are they simple software pieces that you can pull out of a PowerPoint, things like that? Or do you need to go to a couple of locations and pick up some individualized content that's got some humanity to it? Do you need to do a little interview with someone because the message that you're trying to get across from that particular overall content, you would need to bring that in? What would you do if you were doing live? If you were doing live with people coming to you, how would you be presenting that? Who would be there? And that's what you want to try and bring into your virtual event. So you have to do the pre-planning to say, this is how I want it to feel, this is how I want it to look, these are the overall individual pieces and how they break down. Now how do I go and capture them? So from there, you start to get an idea of a structure for what it is that you're trying to build and what it is that it looks like and where your holes are for what you need in your system. Bare bones basic. Do I have a laptop? Yes. Do I have good internet connectivity where I'm going to be working from? Very important. There's a lot of times that people want to put on a virtual event and they want to go to a location, they've done the scouting, maybe they've gone through all the effort, they've got their dose, they've got their materials, they show up and the internet's terrible. You know, these are things you have to consider. You have to understand that you are now a mini broadcast company. You just decided to be, when you decided to put together any virtual event, you just decided to be a mini broadcast company. So now you have to think about those things. What's my content? How am I going to get it out there? Do I even have the facilities where I'm going to do it where I want to do it? And then you have to decide then at that point in time, for example, maybe the location is really important. Maybe you do need to be in that area. But maybe the timing is not all that important. It doesn't need to stream exactly while you're there. Maybe it doesn't really need to be a live event. Then you can go put on the entire production, you can pre-record, and then you can restream or post-stream after the fact. Okay, but you have to know the limitations on equipment. Yes, ma'am?
I was just going to comment, the reason we do both is we do the video, we take it back, and we have screenshots for each event. So we'll have a main screen that says lunch and learn event, or we'll have conversations and cocktails. And then at the end, we have our company information. So I add those on to the live videos at the end, and then we save them. And hopefully he's going to talk about that too, about saving your Google.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's
well,
why I started this.
Yeah, and no, I'm glad you brought that up because, like I said, there are a lot of individual complexities to doing this. Okay, but you have to start somewhere, and there's no way we can cover everything in something like this in a day. But you can certainly just ask questions as we go, and then we'll direct it so that you guys are getting what you need out of this. But let's talk about the importance of this because we want to go back to a very important concept, which is continuity and consistency. And that's what falls into what she's talking about. You have to have continuity, you have to have consistency. Those are all part of professionalism, and that's why people will continue to sign on because you have good content, it's there when they expect it, and it works the way they expect it to work. So for one of the reasons that I do, when I'm doing live, I'm also recording. We back up to tape and we back up to hard drives at the same time because I can't tell you how many times I've seen everything fail at one point or another. They all just fail at different times. So recording with tape, recording with hard drives, while you're running a live feed, people say, why would I bother? Because stuff goes wrong. Internet fails on you. Internet drops out. Now all of a sudden your feed drops out. Guess what? Some streaming systems out there, when your feed drops off, it resets and creates another video. That's just the way the stuff's set up. Now you have 2 videos. Now your audience logs on. Why is it only 30 seconds? I thought it said it was going to be 5 minutes. Now you've got a 30-second piece and a 4.5-minute piece. You know what I mean? And these are things, now you have to pull it down, you got to stitch it back together, and you got to put it back up just to maintain continuity. A lot easier to be running it on a pre-recording, let the whole thing fail online, dump the files, and restream it as one piece. So if anything goes wrong, you always want to have backups and backups and backups if you.
So what I'm taking from this right now is for a small organization that only does 1 to 3 events, so to speak, and can't do them right now, they'd be better off hiring someone like you to do
Quite
this.
possibly. It just depends on your budget. You know when there are people, and we do it too, where we come in and we actually help people through the process of training their staff in order to do it, and helping people with equipment decisions for what they may need, so that they can start to take a look at how do I become self-sufficient. Because if you really only do 3 and you only need 3 because your
And
business.
we would, only one of them would be, you can't, it'd be hard to duplicate a bowling tournament and a golf tournament. And there would be no point to streaming those if you don't get the people, the participants. So the only one we would do is one a year that we would need to do this.
Well, okay, so if that's the case, then it depends on the level of overall look, feel, and appeal, and how you want that broadcast out there. Yeah, it might be a good idea just to go ahead and hire a team to come in and take care of it for you, so you don't have to worry about that. Yes.
She does a lot of call to artists though. She could do that also. Call to artists, she could do that in a video as well.
This is where I was kind of going with that, and I don't know your business
Yeah.
because I haven't had a chance to go over any of that stuff with you guys yet. But quite often, once you have the equipment, let's say you do your one event, but let's just say you said golf tournament.
Yes?
I mean, and if you want that to look like ESPN, that's a lot of gear to have sitting around for once a year golf tournament, right? That's a hire out,
Yeah.
okay? But are there other things that you could be doing that would be beneficial to your business if you did it? Can you do that with an iPhone and some basic software equipment and teach someone how to do that so that you can
Okay.
start doing more frequency and create that consistency so that people look to you, not just for your tournament, but for other things? Because otherwise then, from a broadcast standpoint, the only time they're going to look to you is when that golf tournament's coming up because you don't have any other material out there. So it's something to consider. Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions?
Did you want to go directly and let everyone introduce themselves and
I-
say what they need?
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to know just briefly just what you guys are doing. So I guess we'll start right here and we'll go that way.
I'm Jim Newman. My company is called Merchant Service Exposed, and I get invited to travel around the country to teach business owners how not to be taken advantage of with credit card processing. In 2018, I did 84 flights around the country, and I have a passion for teaching business owners how not to be taken advantage, because credit card processing honestly is a horrible business that the object is to charge the business as much as they can get away with. So we expose how it really works and look at each individual business on a case-by-case basis on what their needs would be and maximize theirs. And I'm just started putting a blog on my site, and I want to take it to the next level on what I can do to put videos or whatever, because I got thousands and thousands of clients around the country, and I show exact to the penny savings that we do. So I would like to take advantage of those.
And I think we're becoming, and it's important for every business, but in your business exceptionally, becoming the go-to, the expert.
Right.
So I'm imagining that you spend a fair amount of time talking to businesses about this. That's what you do.
Tons.
So capture. Number one word in your day when you wake up is capture. Grab everything you can. You are your content. You are your entire business.
Right.
You should be trying to capture everything you can, whether it's on an iPhone, whether it's audio, anything you can that your clientele is okay with being a part of.
Right.
And there are times when I just don't include them in it. It's the Q&A that's really important. It's the things that come out of your mouth after somebody asks you that question that you don't think about yourself.
Right.
And that's the stuff that's really helpful because that's human. That's somebody with a real need. And you've got to capture as much of that as you can because that goes
Because
everywhere.
of COVID, I don't travel all over the country right now again.
Right.
So I do everything here local.
Yeah.
So doing Zoom and recording Zooms would be perfect.
Gorgeous.
Because I always get some of my reps saying, did you record that? I would like to listen to
Absolutely.
how you
Yeah.
talk to this person. Because I can talk to 5 restaurants today, and all 5 of them are totally different situations.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's the beauty of it. The point is to get business with the least amount of overhead, right?
Right.
I mean, so if you're running Zoom meetings on a laptop, which you already had all this equipment, and that works for you, and it helps you augment, that's gorgeous. This is $35,000, and this is the one that gets kicked around in the car.
Right.
The ones that sit on the studio are $75,000, $80,000, $120,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how much do you have to do? If you can get it done with your phone, that's awesome. And I think that's perfect for you because you are the important piece.
Right.
You know what I mean? You are the part that's important.
Yeah, I'm not a product or anything like that.
No,
You're right.
capture. Make sure that you capture everything you possibly can, and then figure out later how to distribute it. Because once you figure out distribution, you're gonna wish you had a bunch of content.
Right.
And if you've got this one little piece and you're looking at all this distribution, you're like, oh man, remember what I said last Thursday? Capture.
That is perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, yes, because we didn't really talk about what it is that you're doing.
I'm director of the Seminole Cultural Arts Council.
Okay.
We were designated by the county to distribute the state-of-the-arts license plate funds that come in the
Okay.
grant for the county.
Okay, so, I mean, you're doing some good with the money, right?
Yes.
So to be able to capture that and distribute that out, and to be able to do that with equipment that you have, and some personnel to be able to follow you around while you're doing that, it just tells your story. You know, it's all about telling your story. That's why you do it. Yeah. Okay.
I'm Erin Millwater. I work at Crooms Academy of IT, doing marketing and internship coordinator. And right now, one of my responsibilities in the fall is to go around to all of the middle schools to recruit 8th graders to come to our high school. And we're not allowed to do that right now because we can't go into the schools. So we're making a promotional video, trying to get as much footage as we can of the students not wearing masks. Hope, you know, we don't want to date the video if we're going to use it again in the future.
Sure.
So we're working on a 5 to 6 minute promotional video that we can send out to 8th grade parents and 8th graders.
That, and then can you also, because there's always some concern for open rates when you deal with that kind of stuff, is there a way that you can integrate with some of the teachers with their virtual classrooms and get connected
We're
inside?
actually pulling some footage from a video that was taken a couple of years ago, and then just doing some student testimonials where they're just in the green room by themselves.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what we're working on.
So what are your goals right now?
They're my goals.
Holes.
Oh, holes.
In your, you have technology holes, things that you're trying to figure out right now? Or
One of our biggest hurdles was whether we were going to do it ourselves since we're an IT school.
Or hire out?
Or hire out.
Yeah.
We just decided we had enough footage that we could piece it together and do it
Sure.
ourselves.
Time is the issue.
Yeah, it has
It's time to have it by a certain time.
Well, that's part of
That's when the
like,
recruitment
yeah,
begins.
what I was
So
saying
it's
before.
fast tracking.
What's the reality of that production? You have a wish list, but what's the reality of getting that accomplished? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and I think in your case, having the higher end equipment and getting that overall glossy feel not so critical because these kids are in a Zoom classroom already. So I mean, you can do quite a bit of that
Right.
organic feel without going into that area.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So you guys are together?
So the lady that just walked out, she's my fundraising chair, so we're all at Crooms Academy. She's
Okay.
my business partner.
Oh, okay.
And what we do is bring people into the classroom in a day where we can interact and talk about handshaking, interviewing skills, like internship. We build that external curriculum
Right.
beyond the academic curriculum. And we have a big event. It's an annual event, and we're on number 15. The previous 14 were live, and it brought in about 1,000 people.
Okay.
And so they're components of the event, and the last event we had was March 12th, and that's when COVID shut everything down. And this whole school year, everything has to be virtual for us.
Right.
So how do I still make that event happen?
Right.
Virtually, so this is a bigger
So now you're
event.
looking at taking that event and figuring out what aspects of it do I have to
We-
water down?
When
what
you were
aspects
talking
do
about all these components, I'm like, do we have the capability, the
a good
bandwidth,
question.
the
That's a very good
skill
question.
sets? Or do we find someone who can help us run the show? Because it's March 12th, 2021, the event. We
Yeah.
already know the date.
Right.
We already know what we need, but can we put it together in-house is the big question.
You have to look at, yeah, you definitely have to break the event down and say, what are the things that people are going to be looking at and focusing on different times during the event? What aspects of that absolutely must be live, if any?
Right.
And then how do I represent that with through a single lens? You know? Yeah, absolutely. But it always all can be done. It's just a deciding factor of whether or not you bring in technology and advancement, or you start somewhere where you're comfortable living with your own capabilities and then building off from there. Because obviously there's a cost associated with bringing a crew in You know, if it's gonna look like the Grammys in there, it's gonna cost like the Grammys as well. So you have to be realistic from that standpoint, obviously.
In the school's budget, you know how that goes, so.
No question. Yeah, for sure. So that's definitely a consideration. But there are a lot of cool things that are being done. There's a handful of products out there, and I have no connection with them, but I believe one of the products is Switcher Cast. And if you're iPhone people, it allows you to hook up like 8 different iPhones through a switch system to your iPad, and you can put those things on tripods and have different areas of focus for your event, and then you can switch and control them all on your iPad. It still takes someone who has the technical, creative ability to manage all that. You're still like basically, it makes no difference whether you're running one of these or running an iPhone. You still have to have content, lighting, imagery, and but those are things that maybe you guys are looking forward to taking on, and that aspect of the event is what you loved about it and want to still be a part of that sort of it, rather than turning it over to a production crew, which may tell you, okay, that idea is really neat, we can't capture it, and then you're like, oh, but wait, that was really important. So you want to retain control of what the message is about, continuing on to who it's for, where they're going to pay attention, so that you can create a good show.
So we love the Zoom as well,
Yeah.
but we're not allowed to use it
Oh, that's right.
because of
Yeah, that's right. So what are you guys doing? Because I'm kind of lost and I'm out of that circle right now. Okay.
Microsoft Teams.
Okay, Microsoft Teams. Okay,
Which
Yeah.
are good tools, but
yeah.
Zoom is easier.
it makes it
Zoom is
user-friendly,
just,
So
yeah,
much easier.
yeah.
but
It is.
it forces us to have to use a lot of other tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, sir.
I'm just here to learn. I work at Central Florida Regional Hospital. I oversee the Heathrow freestanding ER.
Oh, okay.
And, we don't use Zoom because in healthcare we have to have something that's secure. So we use
Right.
WebEx.
Uh-huh.
And I will tell you, I've become very used to how to use that. Everyone in our system has. It's pretty amazing how a few months changes things. Even though we had that technology previously.
Of course.
But I'm just here to learn. I mean, we're here we usually have community events and all kinds of sponsorships, and that's all limited now. It's all Zoom or email or.
Yeah, and the only problem with Zoom can be that claustrophobic feel that you get with some of those systems that you don't want. You want to try to open that up as much as you possibly can. If it's a room of 20 people and you're all supposed to be collaborating and communicating and working together, that format is perfectly fine. But if it's not about the 12 people that are on that screen and it's about 12 pieces of content, then it really becomes more of taking those different channels of input and switching them into an event that you can splice together and get out there. And you can either do that live via stream or you can do that pre-recorded. They take different sets of equipment and different sets of mentality. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Chris Ham. I'm with the Sharing Center in Longwood,
Okay.
and we're the largest free food pantry in Seminole County.
Oh, okay.
But we do have 2 events that we're supposed to host in person, and I'm still hopeful that we will. But I'm also preparing that we won't in April and in August. And then we do a variety of regular tours for people. But I just did actually a FaceTime tour with a potential donor yesterday. I just grabbed my phone and just did a tour, just walked her through what we do, but we're thinking about doing something a little more professional that's less than 20 minutes that we can have or to send to folks.
Because of the leverage, right? Like when you do something like that, if you're going to do it anyways, then by all means capture and do it that way. That's awesome. But the ability to leverage something like that, if you've seen the repetition within it, and you can hit on the key points and the things that need to be put out there, to pre-capture, and then someone asks for it, boom, it's done, it's gone.
Right, it's just right
You're
there.
You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And beyond that, maybe it's.
Then I
just-
can do the follow-up conversation,
That's
do
it.
all that.
Did you get a chance
Right,
to look at it?
but I've been to a couple of virtual events this spring with other agencies, and I've been to some really bad ones, and it was embarrassing.
Okay.
And so,
What did you not like about some of them? Like, what did you feel?
oh, they try to do it in-house, and it cut in and out, and they lost video, and
Yeah.
you could just
knowing-
watch. You could watch the 150 people just drop. You could see the counter, and people get frustrated.
Yeah.
So if we're going to do these things, we need to do them right.
Yes.
We can't.
The number one thing starts with your
No
internet.
schlock,
Yeah.
as one of my mentors told me once, in a good German word, you gotta do it right. So that's why we're thinking we need to be prepared to, I'm not gonna use the P word that we're all tired of, but, we need to be prepared to have something
Well,
for these events. And we'll have 300 plus at each of these events,
Okay,
in a perfect world.
okay. But these events must be live or could be pre-recorded? Have you thought about that?
They could be,
Okay,
but we like live.
why? I'm just asking the question.
This is as a
Yeah.
fundraiser, because if they're live, I can look at you and talk to you about raising money better than I can if you're hiding behind the screen. Just kidding.
Oh, okay. I didn't mean
These are fundraising events.
I didn't mean
Yes.
face to face. I meant. So now you're not going to do face to face.
Well, we're hoping to do face to face.
You're hoping that you can.
But we may have,
You may have to go
as
the
a
other way.
backup, depending on what
So
happens.
so
in the
that
spring.
actually was my question.
Yes.
Should you go to a video presentation, would it still have to be live?
No, I
Okay.
think everything that I've seen, it's better to do it pre-recorded to fix all the errors.
Okay.
And you can make sure that your production quality is quality,
And I agree.
and then you can run through it a couple of times and fix.
There is no better
There's
way.
no point being live,
For-
except if you're doing a fundraising event that says, okay, now, text to give or whatever, and you want to see that thing go up. But I think
Right.
you could mix in pieces
Yeah.
and just have that portion live.
That's absolutely
And
correct.
everything else needs to be pre-done.
That's
and done well.
100% correct, and
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people need to take a look at it and say, must I be live with my virtual event, or can I pre-record? Because you do remain in that control position when you pre-record.
Yep.
Now, the only thing that downside to that is pre-record usually requires post-production. Live does not. Live, if you're prepped and done and everything is ready and you've funneled everything and switching it through, your content is coming through in that single final lens format, it's going out there, it's being recorded while you're streaming it.
Yeah.
Once you're done with your event, you're done with your video production as well. There's no post, there's nothing else to be done, you're done. And that's really nice. And that has kind of changed my thought process on the way I do some video content capture. There are times where I'll consider streaming because done. I walk away, I don't have to worry about it anymore. And if you have a good connection, if your internet where you're working is solid enough, it's not bad. I mean, there's a huge difference between pre-recorded on a Panasonic, $75,000 Vericam running 60 frames a second, and it's recorded onto a high-end media and then played back on a screen. That's gorgeous. No stream's going to compete with that. It can't. I mean, there's no way. So, but if you don't need that type of a finalized product, stream is and you're done. What do you got going on? Tell us.
I'm Brock Levin, ProLift Garage Doors. We're a new garage door repair and service company out of Longwood.
Okay.
Trying to use structure, technology, professionalism to take a typically blue-collar company and run it like a white-collar business. My technician's incredible. So far the customers seem to be really happy with us, but I can certainly curate, content better and use it smarter on social media to actually let people know what we're doing and what we can offer.
What's changed for you guys now after social distancing and all of those changes? What's your challenge now on? Is it just because you struggle to get on site with customers, or is this all mostly just about marketing distribution?
It's marketing distribution. I mean, other than the fact that the technicians have to wear masks and
So that doesn't
we knock on
matter.
the door and step away from people instead of being rude or something like that and
Okay.
giving them all their options.
So you're not trying to replace a face-to-face integration you're just trying to.
Yeah, I'm trying to come up with smarter content. Yeah.
But smarter content also important because I guess there are some concerns depending on your demographic that they may not want a bunch of people coming to your house if they don't know. So I'm sure you probably have to overcome a little bit of that as well with your marketing.
That seems to make sense, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Okay, all right, very nice. Yeah.
My name's Jeremiah. I'm owner of Edge Computer Consulting. I do a lot of system repair, networking, things like that. The reason I really want to do videos, I don't think I'm doing a lot of live stream, but I want to get information out there, how to stay safe online, how your minimal security isn't really enough, and how really easy it is to crack a password if I can get, the hash. So basically I'm looking to do pre-recorded, get it taken care of, and then upload to something like YouTube or Twitch. If I do something live stream, it's all going to be screen share, so I can be like, look, all I have to do is type a few commands and press a button, and then talk about what's going on the screen.
Well, and screen recording, obviously, from a content standpoint, is awesome for you because that's one of the challenges when you're filming, is filming a moving screen. I mean, honestly, this particular camera here has what's called a synchro setting for the shutters, and just like your film cameras from years ago or anything like that, you have a shutter, and if the shutter closes at the time that the screen refreshes, you run it at half screens and so forth, and you multiply that by 30, 60, 120 frames a second that a computer monitor is running, and you're trying to replay it on another monitor. With cameras like this, you can actually go into the menu and you can adjust the speed with which the shutter, so you can hit that. Well, if you're just using if your content comes off the computer already, you just screen share. So it's a gorgeous thing to eliminate that hassle. Because I don't know if you guys have ever tried it, you can take, if you've ever seen a cool Facebook post that you wanted to just, you had it on your tablet or something like that, and you wanted to share it with your friends, and you took your phone and you took a picture of it, and it's all of a sudden, it just doesn't look right. It's called, I don't know the correct pronunciation, it's called Moire, it's M-O-R-I-O-I-E or something like that, but it has to do with the lines of that screen don't agree with the lines of the sensor in your iPad, in your phone, and you wind up with this weirdness. And these are all things that hurt you when you're trying to create content. So for him, he can screen share because he wants to show people what he's doing on his computer anyways, and that's pure. There's no Moire patterns, there's no issues with shutter or anything like that. So there's a lot, and that's what I was trying to get to, is because everybody's trying to do something a little different with this. And not everybody needs the same stuff, you know, and not everybody needs one of these, and not everybody needs one of these. Everybody needs different stuff to do what they're doing, but there's ways around all.
Want those. We want someone else to do those.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just, it's from that standpoint, it's you know, it doesn't have to be complicated. You have to first figure out, what do you need? You know, how do I get my message out there? What's my content need to look like? What am I trying to say here? And how do you want to present it? And then from there, you can say, what's the best way to do it? And then from there, you can say, well, that being said, how am I going to do it? Okay? So you just want to break it down into that script first, you know, for sure. You know, when you're trying to create the content that you want it to look certain ways, we talked about continuity, we talked about things going the same way, and I thought I would just kind of first of all, ask you guys if you have any questions so far about what we've said and what everybody else has said so far. Is everybody okay? So I thought I would just maybe take a few brief minutes, because we have some time, just to kind of give you guys a little inspiration with some gear that I have. This is basically stuff that rattles around in the car all the time. So I just wanted to kind of let you guys know what kind of stuff is out there, from a standpoint of what we would use on a set versus, and then how you could play that down equipment-wise to be something that you could work with. So why is something like this important? Why is the camera important? Well, obviously that just became your eyes for your customer. So how do you need to present to your customer? What are their new eyes going to be? Something like this allows you to do a lot of control as far as capture. This has what's called a parafocal lens, which means that it stays in focus no matter whether I'm zoomed in on your back all the way out. So very similar to using your iPhone. I can zoom in and get in really close, and I can back all the way out. I don't have to constantly refocus or anything like that. This allows me to control just about everything. I have microphone inputs in the back. I have fast batteries that I can fast switch out. They also run a lot of different things. This is what's called an ENG, electronic news gathering device, or EFP, electronic field production camera. This allows me to control audio as a micro soundboard, so I can plug everything into it that I need. I can literally show up and run mics right into this thing. You can have an on-camera mic just like you have there, but like we said before, you want to watch out for maybe you don't want to use the mic that's on your piece of equipment. Okay, so what does this basically do? This thing kind of emulates an iPhone, but gives me the control to be able to go out and do that in a variety of different situations. Can I go in and I can film a golf tournament with it because I can be so the
Too many cocktails is what the audience is saying.
They're like, I'm tired of that. So basically, it's all about trying to get that same kind of quality interface that you get, and you can get with an iPhone at a 6-foot distance is a nice piece of equipment. Okay, it's really hard to go around that.
And this is live, so this just goes to show there are things that happen if you're filming with the camera.
All right.
You can cross that out.
So there's a great lesson in this. What is more important all the time, this thing or this thing? You got to remember that this stuff is important. You know, it really is, and to have a good one definitely makes a difference as far as how your day is going to go. You would be better off to spend good money, time, and effort on picking out good grip material and have a decent camera that makes sense, Rather than, this is the fun stuff, everybody wants to buy these. You know, when you get into it, they're like, oh cool, that's a cool toy. I want to be just like the guy on the news came running out and doing that stuff. This stuff is important. This is what's important. How you clamp your microphones, how close they are to you. I tell people I work with all the time, my favorite stuff is like that little rubber band or that little piece of Velcro that does something that I couldn't do yesterday. That's the stuff I think is really neat. This stuff's expensive. I'm tired of it. It's stressful. You know, that stuff is what's really fun. But we do use slates. You know, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the stuff that you see and why some of it's important. We do use slates because archiving your equipment archiving your material is important. You know, how you want to store your stuff is important. We slate because we use a lot of different types of media, whether it's solid state drives or tapes or so on and so forth. And this way we can make sure that audio is synced, and we can make sure that there's a visual of what it was, when it was created, what it was for. Now we can store it. Because if you're going to take the time to do this, you need to treat your stuff like gold. A lot of people will go and film and they'll throw it on a thumb drive. The thumb drive winds up in a desk. You put a lot of time and effort into this stuff. You need to respect it. So you want to make sure that you're going through the efforts to store your material properly. Same thing when you're capturing it. Make sure your stuff is tuned. We use color charts to make sure that everything is white balanced properly. And then when we go back and look at it, yellows look like yellows, greens look like greens, reds look like reds. Just important to make sure your stuff is pretty. Try and make that stuff up front as best you can. We talked about this before, don't live with mics on small pieces of equipment if you don't have to. Get close, get the room noise away, out of the situation, try and control that. Mic stands like this, you could probably go to a local audio store and get a mic stand, a music shop, I mean, 35 bucks. You know, microphones don't have to be expensive. This is a professional microphone. In what's called the slang term for this is a dead cat. Everybody's like sick of worrying about noise when you go out, the wind noise when you're recording golf, wind noise, outside wind noise. This absolutely eliminates it. Okay? They're not that expensive. They're 30 bucks. You shove your
That's
microphone
another
inside.
reason why I shouldn't be doing this. You should be doing this.
But you can work with someone who can teach you, so that maybe you can apply some of this technique to capturing the things that you're doing, you know, along the way. But yes, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Lighting is important. Lighting is important.
How much is that microphone?
That microphone, I think that's an eBay purchase for 200 bucks. They're probably 400 bucks,
Right.
brand new. You know, it's not that expensive.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things,
Right.
but that's about as nice as you would ever need.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and there's a lot of other brands. There's some brands out there that you can buy for 100 bucks. Lighting, same sort of stuff. $25 stand. They make $200 stands, but sometimes the $25 stands are just fine. The only problem you really run into is when you want to shoot it at 15, 20 feet in the air. Obviously, something like this isn't going to work. But have some light. Learn to like light. Learn to understand that you're painting with light. So make sure that people's faces are lit nicely. Too much hard light makes people look not so pretty. Soft light makes people look nice. Too soft makes people look flat and dull. So there's a crossover there. Just kind of watch the commercials and the shows that you like. If you have a TV show that you watch all the time, or a Netflix show or something that you watch all the time that you like, and it makes you feel good, pay attention to the lighting, because lighting is probably a part of why you find it attractive. Take a look at it and see how their faces are lit, and emulate that with what you're doing. It makes a difference, even on it's silly to say, but even on a Zoom call. Just being able to throw a light, if you're dealing with customers, just to throw a light on there to make you look a little better than flat and dull, it's worth the effort, and it won't cost you that much time. And then we go with the case in point. This is a $4 umbrella, and this is what we're talking about, things that you learn to solve along the way. This is a $4 umbrella that I bought from Skycraft. This thing's sole purpose is to sit on the high definition version of these cameras, so that when we're in a sporting event in the sun, it doesn't overheat the processors and shut the camera down. $4 saves the day. So there's just little things like that that you learn, that it's not all about the expense, it's not all about the stress, it's not all about it's a lot. It's about just doing it. Capture, capture, capture. Learn, make mistakes, learn, adapt, move forward, find affordable ways that you can do it, and just do it. But do it, you know? Don't get stuck with, I need one of these, I don't have one of these, I can't do it. Well, do that. Figure out a way to do it. Any more questions? Perfect. Okay.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you for coming to the Sanford Chamber Lunch and Learns. We hold these monthly on the third Tuesday of every month. We try to hit topics that are interesting to you. If you have something in particular you would like to hear or have a discussion with, please email us. We'll be glad to try to touch that topic. This was a great one because a lot of people were wondering how to get out there and get their products out there due to the new socialization issues.